This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. This is the final cast segment with your hosts Brad Hicks and Josh Eldridge, where we cast our final opinions on all products, good and bad. Welcome to the final cast. You're listening to the final cast on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brad.
I'm Brian.
Brian, what's up, dude? How you doing?
What's happening, brother?
Not much, man. Josh, we're going to give him a little break for a little bit. So Brian's jumping on with us.
Josh is out floating down a river somewhere.
Hopefully. He needs some river time, that's for sure.
Don't we all?
Yep. Speaking of river, we got one of the river goats from Indiana in the house tonight as our guest, Josh Chrenko from the Smalley Talk podcast. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, guys. How are you doing?
Good.
I wasn't
Pumped
sure
to have you on, man.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was live. I can't see myself, so I like to look at myself in the mirror a lot. So throw me off a bit.
It's the beard, dude.
No, I'm joking. My wife always jokes with me because I apparently look at myself, my reflection all the time, like I'm vain or something. But it's definitely not because I look good. So I know.
I caught myself doing that at my father-in-law's wedding last night. There was like a mirror sitting there. I'm sitting there looking at it. People probably think I'm weird.
Well, you were wearing a suit from what I saw on Facebook.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You're looking pretty dapper there, bud. I have to say. So.
That doesn't happen very often. But
yeah,
it's all good.
Who's this guy?
We tonight we're going to talk about Wilderness Systems kayaks. Josh is on their team, so yeah. How you doing? Let the listeners know who you are. Just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Josh Chrenko. As he said, I am I would say a dedicated smallmouth guy. I hate catching largemouth. It's okay to catch spots every once in a while, but largemouth usually get thrown up on the bank. I'm just being honest. I'm joking. I'm joking. No, smallmouth guy. I kind of started, smallmouth fishing. Gosh, I mean, I've been bass fishing my whole life. Grew up fishing tournaments out of a bass boat with my dad, and kind of got into smallmouth fishing when I sold my boat about 10 years ago and bought a kayak. And kind of, the kayak thing for a lot of guys, I think starting out, one of the most first easiest places that you go is the river, just because I couldn't really get out on my boat on the river, or at least not shallow rivers. And I discovered how much I love catching river smallmouth. So kind of fell in love with that, and did that for a few years. Got a little bit in the kayak scene there, and yeah, man, just I don't know. I just kind of wanted to start something to put content out there, but I suck at video, so I wasn't definitely not going to do a YouTube channel. So I started a blog initially, which is Quest for 23, which guys may have heard of that. Which we wrote in that for about a year, and then I'm a big podcast junkie because I sell medical equipment for a living, and I drive a ton, and like just to get me through my driving, I listen to podcasts, and I started to realize, like, man, there's nothing out here for smallmouth fishing in the podcast world. So, I was like, oh, why don't we start a smallmouth podcast? So me and my buddy Chris, we started the Smalley Talk podcast. I think it's been about 2 years now, and he's the big dedicated fly fisherman. We call him, he's an elitist. Thinks he's better than us conventional guys. So he's like this fly guy. I'm the conventional guy. We kind of play off that, so it's a little bit of, us kind of jabbing each other. It's a lot of man boy humor, I would say. But yeah, so definitely got the explicit label on there. But yeah, no, we just honestly, man, I'm just a smallmouth guy. I love fishing smallmouth, and around here, if you're going to catch smallmouth, you got to get on moving water. There's really not a lot of smallmouth lakes, so it's just kind of a natural thing for me. And then, yeah, just I guess that's me. I, joined the Wilderness Systems team about 3 years ago just because I paddled their kayaks, and I don't even know what started that. I was looking at different kayaks, and I knew some guys like Jeff Little at the time was on the team, and kind of knew him throughout different stuff because we were both love smallmouth, and he hooked me up with them. And then, so I've been paddling those for, 5 or 6 years. So
That's cool, man. We kind of got a similar story with the river thing for sure. Because I started out wading the river and stuff like that, and I saw people in kayaks, and it's like, man, I got to try that. Open up a world of opportunity. And now I've hit like almost 60 miles of the river here, and I'm trying to hit all of it, so
yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah, man, that's how I kind of I would say decompress, or it's how I survive really. So because I just all the stresses of life, man, there's not very many ways to escape it, but man, when I'm on the river, I just forget about everything besides me and those fish. So it's definitely therapeutic for sure. So
well, that's awesome, dude. Let's get into some kayak talk.
All right, sounds good.
What do you want to start with? The Attack?
So that's what I paddle now. I paddle the Attack 120, and I'll start off by saying the kayaks guys are the kayak to me is a little bit secondary to like fishing in general. Kayak's just kind of like a means to get on the river, because I just recently bought a jet boat. I wade a lot, so it's kind of like kayak is just part of my arsenal. So I'm not like super dedicated kayak guy, but I do enjoy fishing the kayak tournaments. So that is what's kind of kept me like fishing out of that more than anything. But currently I paddle the 120 Attack, and that thing has been welded up about, I don't know, 50 different times, and it's got Gorilla Tape on it and stuff. Just because I only fish rivers, and I just beat the living crap out of it. So the team boat stuff, I get a boat every year, and I was kind of stuck with that one. Like last year, I got a real small little boat for my kids to use, and I use it when I wade, like the little Pungo. But yeah, the Attack 120 for the last, I think, so this would be my 4th year paddling it. That's been my go-to, and really for what I do, there's not really much else out there I feel like is better suited for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like river guys kind of complicate it a little bit too much sometimes, and that's kind of what I'm coming away from now, because I feel like there's just too much in front of me. I need that open deck. I need less stuff with me, and I'm bringing my whole crate with me and like 5 rods. I'm like, I don't got to do this, man, because I only use like 2 rods when I go out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and the river is totally different animal from a lake, right? I mean, you're dealing with the current, and I've always been of the mindset, kind of less is more, even though over the years that less has gotten more and more and more. I end up taking more stuff. But the big thing is, when you get a bunch of tethers, you get a bunch of crap everywhere, it just it can be dangerous, really. Because if you go over in a rapid or something, that can be a dangerous situation. So really try to keep everything clear. But yeah, I mean, that kayak is pretty good for that. It has a nice open deck up front, and it's short enough to where it's maneuverable, but it paddles pretty well. Yeah, I mean, it's a good boat for sure. I mean, it's definitely due for a refresh, I will say that. So
nice.
Yeah. So what are you thinking?
I know they're not, at least the plans right now. They're not going to refresh the Attack line, at least not this season. So they came out, I think at the ICAST, they came out with the Recon, which is the new boat that is going to be launching soon. I think it was planned on launching this spring, and they've delayed it a little bit because of the COVID, as everything's kind of come to a halt. But It looks like it's pretty slick. I've seen some pictures of the prototypes. There's videos out there if you guys want to look, but I will tell you all the stuff that's out from the spring, it's changed quite a bit. So there's definitely quite a bit of new like features on it. I think I was telling you guys before the podcast, but we kind of brought Hans Newts back into Confluence, which for those that you don't know, Confluence is the parent company of Wilderness Systems. And I think he kind of put his thumbprint on that thing and has got some cool stuff with it. So it's some neat, I can tell you some features about it. I don't think I'm going to be breaching my non-disclosure agreement. If I do, they might kick me off the team. So it's a pretty slick boat. It's pedal drive, so I'll say that for sure.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah.
The attack and the ride and everything, that has that removable pod where you can drop in the Helix drive, right?
Yeah, so I've never actually used that Helix drive, but the initial design with the pod is that you could use the pod itself for depth finder or whatever you guys call them. But yeah, I have a little Raymarine Dragonfly that I use in the wintertime, and that's it. On rivers, that's not really I don't think a useful tool personally. But you could pull that pod out and then put the Helix drive in, which was, I think that was it's manufactured by Torqeedo, so it's a Torqeedo motor, but it was just branded as Wilderness Systems, and it had the battery and the motor all in like one unit, so you could drop that in there, and it was similar to like, it's a mid boat, so that Old Town Sportsman I think has the the Minn Kota in the middle. I don't know how much I like that for rivers, just because kind of that'd be an expensive oops if you hit a rock with it. So
I had a Torqeedo on my boat for a minute. It was all right going up the river, I guess, but I was definitely afraid of damaging the prop, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've already busted a prop on my jet boat trolling motor. So,
are you serious?
Yeah, it's I don't know. Honestly, man, I felt like such an idiot out there. Because I haven't fished out of a boat in a decade, and I bought my jet boat and took it out for the first time. Man, I felt super awkward. I'm like, okay, this does not feel. I just felt like I was like some beginner. So it shows you how much kayak fishing really puts a imprint on you, because you get used to maneuvering and picking up your paddle and standing up and sitting down, and you would think like, oh, everybody's like, oh, boat's super easy to fish out of, but man, once you get used to the kayak, it's just kind of like second nature to you. So it's definitely a different game. I haven't fished on a boat in I don't even know how long, but
I feel odd when I get on a boat, like you try to overcorrect your balance, because a kayak's a little bit more tipsy. I almost fell out of a boat 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird feeling for sure.
Yeah.
Brian, your kayak's basically a boat anyway.
Yeah, well,
I was gonna ask what you guys paddle. I know what you paddle, Brad, but Brian, what do you paddle?
I was in a Blue Sky.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pontoon. It's a cool boat, but
changes are coming. That's all I can say. All
right, yeah. I think Jackson's got a lot of changes coming from what I hear. So yeah. Heard
pretty crazy times.
Old Drew Gregory, he jumped over to different brand. So
you can get that exclusive interview here next week, Thursday, live.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's funny. Drew is one of the guys that I watched like when I first started getting into it, because he was like, he was like a hardcore river guy, and he's like really passionate about it. And I've met Drew a few times since then. He's a pretty nice guy.
For sure.
I used to fish those river bassins. I really wish those were still a thing, because I had a great time doing that, man. That was fun stuff. But yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to the new Wildy. We'll see what she does on the river. So I'll definitely put it through its paces. So
heck yeah. Do you got the specs on that boat?
So it's a 120. It's a 12-footer. It is, I'm not sure if I don't think I have the exact specs, but it is a pretty wide boat. So it's definitely wider than the Attack. Like I said, it really looks a lot like the Attack, like just from a design standpoint. But I was telling you guys before, I feel like all the newer kayaks are kind of going to that, like, like the Titan has that design where it's like the pierced bow, and then the back is like got that square, back to mount power poles or torpedoes or whatever to it. So it's got that similar design. But I will say this, the one thing that like Hans has always put his touch on stuff is the boats have always paddled really well. So I know like Bonafides paddle really well. So this thing is going to be no exception. I'm sure it's going to be a really good paddling boat. And honestly, that's why I've stuck with the Attack so much, because it just paddles so well. It's just such a good all-around boat. It's maneuverable. You can paddle good. It's got all the accessories you can add onto it. I use a rudder. Minus a pedal drive. It has about everything that I want. And I would like to get into the pedal drive thing in certain situations. I will say that.
Yeah. So. I think that 12 foot is a sweet spot for kayaks too. It's like best of both worlds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, that I've had a Ride 115, which is 11.5 foot, and it on certain rivers, I think a shorter boat's advantageous just because you are able to swing it around quicker and stuff. I started out my first like real fishing kayak was a Cuda 14, way too long for the river.
Oh yeah.
This is like 14 foot, right?
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, and it was real like slender, and it it paddled well. But man, you try to turn that thing around in a creek, and you're like not happening.
Not happening.
You're hitting both banks.
Yeah, exactly. So I learned pretty quick you need a little bit shorter boat. But yeah, the wilderness systems in general, besides this new Recon that's coming out, they've done a good job with their accessory line over the past couple of years. So they kind of paused the boat part of it. They were doing some reorganization. They I think hired a new CEO and had a really kind of turnover. And they came out with like the kayak crate that they manufacture, and the kayak cart, and just really some cool accessories. And I've seen those like crates in people's boats, all different brands. So they did a really good job designing some cool accessories and well thought out stuff. So that's what I think from an innovation standpoint, that's more what people have seen from Wilderness Systems over the past couple of years has been the accessory line.
Accessories, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that HD cart is regarded by a lot of people from different brands the best cart in the market.
Yep.
And we had John Hipsher on the podcast a while back from Yak Attack, and we asked him about a kayak cart, if they had one in the making. He's like, unfortunately, somebody else beat us to it. And I'm pretty sure he's talking about the wilderness cart.
Yeah, that one is pretty nice. I know the Chris Lemesser, he's the regional or whatever on the team. And I know he had a big part in designing that because he had like a homemade cart that he had made like that. Mm-hmm. And it has those parallel bars that kind of sit in the like in between the gunnels of the boat. And it, with the design of most boats now, there's really space for that, and it works, just like running your boat up on a trailer with two, PVCs, kind of similar thing, and you can adjust the width of them so you can, change the size to whatever boat you're using it on, and you can run a, just like a cam strap around it, and yeah, it does a good job. I mean, I've pulled that thing through some gnarly stuff, and it's good. It's a good cart for sure.
Heck yeah.
So
I want one. They're just hard to find right now.
yeah, all that stuff, man. Is kayaks are like low inventory everywhere. So
Brian's
like
shop,
gold.
man. You guys have all your inventory's almost gone, isn't it?
It's pretty much gone. And it's crazy because like any truck that we have coming in, it's pretty much all but one or two are sold before it even hits the door. and then by the time it gets put on the showroom floor, it's gone in days.
Yeah.
So Brian, do you run a kayak shop then?
I just work part-time for my local shop.
Okay. Which shop is that?
Rocktown Adventures.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only wildies they really sell are like your pungos, tsunamis, stuff like that. Like they don't carry
wreck stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they carry a lot of the wreck and touring stuff. They just
Yeah.
don't carry any of the fishing kayaks, and I'm not really sure why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Wildy hasn't had a ton of new models, so I think that's some of it, we're just being outpaced. But I know in the fishing world, I didn't realize this, but you guys probably know, like fishing kayaks represent such a small portion of all the kayaks that are sold. Like I didn't realize, like the Pungo, I heard a statistic for the Pungo specifically that it sold all the other kayaks in Wilderness System makes combined like 10-1.
Yeah, I believe it.
Like
it's it's like the Pungo 120 and 126, I think it is, or 125, and the Loon 120 and 126. Those boats fly off the shelves. Like I forget how many we get every year, and those are the first to go. I mean, most common wreck boats. But I think don't they have a angler packaged Pungo?
So not at the current moment they don't. I know they did in the past.
Okay.
But that was before they had like, I think that was when like the Ride series was their like sit on top, and then the Pungo and the Tarpon was around, which they just.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, the Tarpon's still around. They've had a bunch of different variations. They just refreshed the Tarpon 100 and 120, I believe, which I actually have a Pungo. I use that for like creek fishing. I just, it's a sit inside. It's like, it weighs like 35 pounds. So I can grab it off my roof rack and throw it in the creek and just tow it behind me and hop in it when I'm done. So yeah, I use that, for, like creek stuff, but yeah, I'm still waiting for someone. So I guess specifically Wilderness Systems. I'd love to get like an ultralight sit on top, like a real nice ultralight sit on top, because I can't. When I just go creek fishing and stuff, I'd like to have something that's a little more comfortable than that Pungo. But
bro, Eric Jackson from Apex Watercrafts has the boat just for you.
Just for what are those things? Are like $15,000 or something.
I think it's 11 now.
That's crazy, dude. I didn't even pay that much for my jet boat.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts, man. The kayak world is it's changing. I mean, I got into the kayak stuff, with buying as most people do, like a Dick's Sporting Goods special, but I at one point almost opened up my own kayak fishing shop here in Indy. So that's actually, now that I think of it, that's how I originally got in with Wilderness Systems. I think I spent like $20,000 on Wilderness Systems kayaks and bought a bunch of inventory, and we were getting ready to sign a lease on a space. And then I ended up at the last minute, my brother and we were going into business together, and we ended up deciding against it for a lot of reasons. But Wilderness Systems was cool enough to take back all of the stuff that I'd bought from them, and I think that's why I kept the boat that I'd bought, and just that's how I got my first Wilderness Systems. So
interesting.
So, yeah.
Was that before Moving Waters, or?
Yeah, so at the time, Moving Waters was Wildcat Creek Outfitters, and they were in the same building, different owners, and that was actually part of the reason that I was having trouble getting lines of kayaks, because those guys had like every line and they had exclusivity with them. They didn't have Wilderness Systems, so that's what I had signed a deal with Wilderness Systems and Feel Free. That was like the two brands that we were going to carry at the time. I went to ICAST and like met those guys there, and It was actually it would have been a cool thing. And honestly, looking back on it, I kind of wish I would have went through with it. But
Yeah.
I just got out of an 11-year retail career, and I couldn't see myself working Saturdays again. So
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
yeah. So I mean, I own my own medical device company now, and I don't work any on the weekends, and it's very nice. So
That is nice.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so that was part of the reason why we kind of decided against it. But yeah, they're definitely at the time, Wildcat Creek was solely a fly shop, which is they still are. You know, they're mainly a fly shop. And I kind of wanted to have one down south. So I live in Greenwood, which is like the south of Indy. Theirs is in Zionsville, which is north of Indy. And I think it would have worked. I don't think we would have cannibalized each other. But mine was going to be like a bass fishing shop with kayaks. So it was going to be like all conventional stuff, which it kind of kills me because there still should be somewhere like there's not very many places out there like that that are like dedicated, like conventional fishing gear and also catered to the kayak crowd. There's just not a lot out there. So
we're different here in Ohio. We got like 4 shops within like 2 hours of me, and each shop has like 2 different brands.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. That's cool.
3 or 4 maybe, but it's weird.
Do they carry like bass fishing gear though? Is it like a fishing shop or is it more of a kayak shop?
I know the one in Cincinnati does. Our shop don't down near Cincinnati, and then I don't know about the other 2. Well, the one up near me is actually like a whitewater, but they sell fishing kayaks as well.
Yeah, and that's what you find most of the time. It's like they got into fishing kayaks because it got popular, but that's not like their core competency. And that's what I still think there's, you got like Hook One down in Tennessee, which they obviously do a good job. That's like a dedicated place for that. And I know there's other places out there besides them, but most of the places you go buy fishing kayaks are like kayak shops that sell fishing kayaks, and they might have a little bit of gear or something, but it's just not like for the kayak fishing crowd. And I still think there's a place for that kind of place, just that population's growing so much. I mean, the kayak fishing guys it's crazy over the last 10 years how many more people have gotten into that, and it's only getting bigger.
Oh yeah. I started in 2013 in a kayak, and it like having the river to myself, and then compared to now, it's ridiculous. You see so many guys fishing out of a kayak now, and it's like even 3 years ago it wasn't like this. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's neat, man. I wish we had some more water in Indiana, so all the people get spread out more. But
you guys have more lakes and stuff than we do, though. I mean, we have like five rivers right here where I live, but there's like I have to drive an hour to get to a lake.
Yeah. Well, that's your first mistake, even going to a lake. So just don't go.
I know. I only go there when I'm fishing a tournament. When I have to. I always tell everybody if I'm picking between a lake or a river, and the river's not flooded, I'm going to the river.
Yeah, there's been a couple tournaments over the last like couple years that I've like been tempted to go fish at a lake, but I just feel like I'm gonna make a fool of myself. I haven't fished in a lake in a decade. I used to be decent. I used to be good at lake fishing, but now I'd probably be so far. I'd either do really well or just not catch anything.
You should show up one day and be like, "What's up, guys?"
Yeah,
be like, "What are you doing here?"
I did think about the last one I thought about fishing. I ended up bailing for a smallmouth trip, so yeah.
Worth it.
And I caught two 20-inchers in a day, so it was all worth it.
Worth it.
Yeah. I've never even caught a 20. Man, I'm
Come
jealous.
fish with me, bro. I'll put you on that 20 this fall. So
let's do it. I'm coming over there again.
Those 20s are roaming in the fall, man. So this year I have 6 20-inch smallmouth. So yeah.
I've gotten close. I've gotten quite a few like 19 and a quarters, 19 and a halves this year, but nothing over 20. You'd probably be disappointed in my fishery compared to the white river.
Man, I tell you, it took me a long time before I really was able to do that, though. I mean, I went whole seasons without catching 20. I mean, and I fish a lot, but it definitely, the 20-inch barrier is just elusive. And I think we talked about that, Brad, when we were at that after the tournament. It's kind of like when you fish for them, where you fish for them. I mean, wintertime is almost the best time to fish for 20s, like dead of winter. If it's not frozen, obviously, that's like one of the easiest times. And then early spring, late fall, that's when you usually will hit those 20s. But I've gotten lucky. I caught, I caught one two during a tournament this year. So it was, I was pretty thrilled with those. So, but yeah, the 20s, man, that's what I'm after. So, and I'm getting ready to head up to Minnesota. We're fishing the Upper Mississippi River, Friday. So I fully expect to at least get 2 more 20s. So.
Were you going up by Red Wing?
No, so we're going up towards we're staying in St. Cloud.
Okay.
So that's like, it's not quite up by the headwaters, but it's not far from it.
Yeah.
So we're fishing St. Cloud, around like Brainerd, really like anything downstream of Brainerd.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fair game. So
Right
we
on.
went there this spring. I don't know if you guys listen to the podcast or whatever, those podcasts, but we caught him on the bed, and we had, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this, the group of us in one day had 47 in between 19 and 20 inches and 12 fish over 20 inches in one, 7-hour day. So it was wild. There were 19s and 20s everywhere you looked on the bed, and they were super dumb and super aggressive.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was wild, man.
Ryan's gonna hear this. We got a bass fishing for noob segment. Ryan's gonna hear this and be like, "I'm getting that guy on my show."
Oh yeah.
Well, there's not much to learn about that. You threw a Ned rig up in the bed and they ate it.
Smallmouth are pretty notorious for being dumb and aggressive like that.
Yeah, I mean, we just happened to get lucky and we hit it where they all went on the bed on the same day. And it was like, when you go out and they're on the bed and they're spawning, there'll be you'll see a bunch of empty beds and you'll see, fish here and there. Dude, every bed had a fish on it. Like every bed. So it was like, I mean, I was, by the end of the day, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I was paddling by 19s, 19 and a halves because I was like, nah, I don't want to spend time catching those. I was looking for that 21, 22, because I'd already caught a couple 20s by that point, and dude, it was wild. It was by far the wildest day of fishing I've ever had in my life. So
that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
How far is that from La Crosse?
So La Crosse is in Wisconsin. This is in Minnesota. So I'm not sure how far down.
It's probably hour and a half, 2 hours north of La Crosse.
Yeah, so it's it's 12 hours from Indy, so I don't know how far that is from La Crosse, but it's a different river for sure than La Crosse. La Crosse has all those little sloughs and slow water. This, man, it's all what it reminds me of up there? It's like a mini version of the Susquehanna River. So it has, kind of that same feel to it. A lot of islands, and it's just real shallow, real rocky. But it's obviously not as wide as Susquehanna. I mean, but it's, it's pretty big. It's probably in places, you're I don't know, a third of a mile wide. So I mean, it gets pretty big. And then there's places where it looks a bit like the White River. So it just depends on what area you're in, because it's dammed up in several places. But it's that place. I mean, honestly, if you're a river smallmouth guy, I've traveled all over the Midwest for those things, and that's holy waters right there.
Yeah, I bet.
That's and I've been to Susquehanna, which no, I'm not knocking the Susquehanna, but dude, that place up there is just, it's next level. It's the next level.
That's awesome.
Sure.
I lied. It's probably 2 to 3 hours north of La Crosse.
Okay.
if not more.
The only reason I asked that was because Hobie was having an event. I didn't know if you were going to run into any of those guys or not.
No, not up that far. And that's the thing up there. Not trying to get off topic. I know this is a gear podcast and everything, but
it's all
that's
good.
what we do. That's what we
okay.
do.
Well, I mean, up there, there's so much water to fish, like everywhere. There's lakes. You throw a rock and you're gonna hit 3 lakes, and up there, it's just so easy to go fish any of those lakes, and those all have big smallmouth on them. That Mississippi is hard to get on from you can't put a prop boat on there, like you just can't. So you either have to have a jet boat or a canoe or a kayak, and it definitely, the fishing pressure is way less than like anywhere else I've been. We fished for 4 days up there. Keep in mind it was Memorial Day weekend, so it was like during COVID. So it was like probably one of the busiest times you could ever go up there. I saw one guy fishing the entire time.
Well, it's like I went up to western Minnesota one year, and they got a ton of lakes up there and stuff, and I saw 2 boats on this whole lake the whole time. It's a pretty big lake too, and they just don't fish for bass. It's like walleye or pike. It seems like.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the other part. Nobody even likes bass up there.
That blows my mind. I'm like,
I mean, it's like going to Boundary Waters or something, It's like everybody's trying to get that, shore lunch and fishing. I mean, the other thing is, like, there's all kinds of cool multi-species there. There's huge pike, huge muskie. It's just a cool place, man. Like, that up there is, dude, it's wild. Like, if you're a river junkie, like, that's definitely a bucket list trip you need to make, because it's super cool place. So
yeah, that you mentioned Boundary Waters. That's a bucket list. I think this one tops it.
Yeah,
I want to try that.
Yeah, I mean, it basically is like the Boundary Waters, just a river.
Yeah.
I mean, the Boundary Waters has rivers, but it's all small lakes interconnected with the rivers, and this is it's a true it's a freaking Mississippi River. I mean, it's the longest river in the United States, so it's just crazy how much different it is up there than it is where I think of it, like driving through Missouri or something like that. It's like, oh, I can't believe that's the same water,
Yeah. I drove over it in Minneapolis, and it was the same way. I thought the whole river looked like that the whole way, but I don't know if you guys heard about that guy that kayaked the whole Mississippi. It took him like 60 something days. He did it on YouTube.
Woo. No,
he did it start to finish.
That's awesome.
And his whole trip's on YouTube, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Actually, Zach on the Yak Legion had him on his podcast to talk about it. It was a pretty good episode.
Did he fish?
No, he's just I don't know. He might have, but he's a recreational paddler, I think.
Okay.
Just to say he did it,
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
That's pretty crazy, dude. I know after I paddle for just a couple days, I'm like, all right, I'm done for. I need to go night.
Yeah. It's a crazy story, though. You guys should check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, we got way off topic, but I like where it's heading. So.
Yeah. That's all right. You guys ask me whatever you want. I don't know that I have that much interesting stuff to talk about, but I'll try to make it interesting. So.
It's all good, man. You got anything else to say about the attack or anything? I mean.
Man, no, I'm looking forward to this new boat coming out. I mean, the attack's definitely, it's been a great boat, but I think, it's kind of had its time and it's gone. So I think people still do buy them occasionally. I mean, that Confluence is still manufacturing them, but I think their market share has shrunk big time because, they needed something fresh. So this new one, I think, is going to be pretty solid, but there's some cool things on it. I think unique things that, not going to be like game changers or whatever necessarily. It's definitely not a carbon kayak, so not going there. But, for guys that, looking for something a little bit different than what's out there, it's definitely, it's a cool boat. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it out. So yeah.
I'm interested in seeing it now. I didn't even know they were coming out with a new one, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's slick, man. It's a cool boat. the one thing that I like really, and I probably shouldn't say this, I'm just being honest. The Wilderness Systems pedal drive, I'm just never been a huge fan of it, and more so because I fish rivers and it just doesn't have a good like, kick up system. Like all the, well, I guess Hobie has their kick up fins now, and Jackson has that. I think the native can kick up. It's kind of a funky setup, but that's the one thing I hope in the next couple of years they're going to redo that whole drive so that they have some different system there, just because a river, unless I know it's going to be a deep stretch, like I'd be afraid to really push that thing through some rocky stuff. So
I think they're going to have to start innovating. A lot of these companies are going to have to do it, especially with the 360 drive with Hobie came out with. They're going to have to do something to keep up.
Yeah. That's for sure. I mean, that 360 drive is sick. I'm not gonna mince words on that. Like, that's what they need to do, is they need to just pay the royalty to Hobie, put that thing in the new one, call it.
Or wait till the patent expires, like Pelican did.
Yeah, I know. Which, ironically enough, I don't know if you guys knew, Pelican and Wilderness Systems are all together now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, which that's kind of
recent, right?
Yeah, it was like this spring, right before the COVID thing happened, or maybe at the end of the winter. So Confluence and Pelican which Pelican's a Canadian company, so they're obviously known for like more entry level stuff. So maybe they'll put that knockoff Hobie drive in there. I don't know, dude. I have no idea. Yeah. Huh. I mean, the fin thing is cool. I mean, I wouldn't want something I couldn't go backwards in, though. That would be fuck. But hope you guys did it for years. So
I've tried the little lever thing, reverse. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
The instant I would have to have instant reverse.
Yeah, I think if they came out with a 360 Outback, like that would be a pretty freaking good riverboat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Super fast.
Yeah.
I've seen people comment on that too, actually, in the Hobie group, and some guys are like, oh, that boat would not be able to withstand the movement, I guess.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that they would find a way to engineer that.
Yeah, they'd have to. I'm expecting it. That's for sure.
It seems like what everybody's doing nowadays, though, is the bow-mounted trolling motors. I mean, that's been around for what? Like, since the beginning of fishing kayaks, bow-mounted trolling motors have been a thing. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, everybody's doing it now. And I thought, like, back in the day, I'm like, why are these guys mounting these things on the back? Why don't they mount them on the front? I feel like that'd be way more productive. But yeah, that's like what everybody's doing now. I mean, they got those Motor Guide XI3s and throwing them on there, and I mean, it's basically like a tiny little bass boat. So
I got one coming on the way.
Oh, going over the dark side, huh?
Yeah, well, I tried the Torpedo. I'm gonna try this now. See if I like it better. I need that spot lock feature.
I have spot lock on my jet boat, and I have to say it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I believe it.
Freaking cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's a sick feature.
You should talk about that boat a little bit. Like, you just bought it. What river did you run it up?
So the only rivers I've had it on so far has been the Tippecanoe and White River. So, I've fished out of jet boats in the past, and honestly, I wasn't, kayak thing was good with me, but I have 2 little kids at home, and, going out kayaking with them is doable, but it's not the best form of, way to get the kids out on the water, and be with them and engaged with them. So I felt like getting a boat for me would be a way for me to kind of spend the day on the water with the kids and them to, be able to relax a little bit. I mean, they do go out kayaking with me, but it's just, there's only so much you can do with like little girls kayaking on a river. It takes a lot of work to make that, yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I got it's an 18-foot Sea Arc jet boat. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm building it out this winter. I haven't really had it out a ton because I'm going to build out decks and storage and stuff on it. So I'm really looking forward to getting it on. But I've had it in some gnarly stuff. It'll go in like 4 inches of water. So it's pretty cool.
Bust up the riffles pretty quick then.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've gone up some really skinny stuff with it. So, for a guy like me that likes fishing rivers, it's kind of the, best power boat choice. So I'll say that. So
I have a story where me and my buddy was on a river that was probably 40 yards wide. He was on one side of the bank, I was on the other, and the guy jet boat just came busting right in between us. I looked over at him. I was like, I didn't see the boat or anything. I was like, what the heck was that? He's like, some idiot with a boat just came buzzing through. He didn't even see us.
Oh yeah, people have been ribbing me about that. Like, oh, you're gonna be one of those guys. I'm like, hey, watch it, man. I'm gonna run you off the river, bud. Next time I see you. Yeah, that can be dangerous for sure on smaller rivers. So yeah, I'm not gonna be one of those guys though. I'll be the guy that slows down and not washing people out. So yeah.
Cool, man.
I like it.
Brian, you got anything?
No, man. No, I'm sorry. I've been quiet on this one, man. I know enough to be dangerous with Wildy, and I've just been kind of absorbing it all in as Josh was going over it also.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about wilderness systems either, so it was kind of cool to get some info on it.
Yeah, Wildy's like an OG in the kayak game, been around for a long time. Their team has got some really cool guys on there. Like we had 2 years ago, we did a get together on the Susquehanna River, and one of the guys on the team is Juan Varut. He's a guide on the Susquehanna, and he organized it, and we had a freaking great time. But yeah, some cool things to come from them though, so it'll be interesting. Just keep on the lookout for some. That boat, I think they're talking about actually launching in September. So next month it should be available to get. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But thanks for having me on though, guys.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
For sure, man. It was fun. Well, we're winding down. You got anything anybody you'd like to shout out or anything?
Shoot, man. I already gave Wilderness Systems enough pub in this episode, so
plug your podcast, man.
Yeah,
Where
just
people find it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so Smalley Talk Podcast. It's SMALLIE. We're on. I don't do a ton of marketing for that, but we're on like Apple Podcasts and Google Play, and I think anyone that picks up your RSS feed we're on. So.
Right.
Like Castbox, all those type of places.
Sure.
Are you guys on Spotify yet?
Yeah, we've been on there for a while.
Okay. Did you sign like a big contract like Joe Rogan did? Are you?
No.
By the way, I will say this.
If we did, we never saw anything from that. I can tell you that much.
I'm going to say this. I saw the list of the top fishing podcasts, kayak fishing podcasts. They ranked them. You guys got screwed, man. You're definitely the best one out there. So come on.
Oh, that's funny. I don't think there was a ranking in any order. I think it was just a list of 5.
Hey, I got you.
But I think everybody is taking it that way, and it's funny, man, because a lot of people have said that. Which thank you very much. That's huge. But
you guys obviously put a lot of work into it, and as someone who does some of that, I know, this is none of your guys' full-time gig. So I know how much work it takes to take time aside to do these sort of interviews and organize people and
sure.
So props to you guys. You guys have a pretty cool thing going, and
thanks,
it was fun to be a part of it. So
yeah.
Brian, dude, mastermind, he's always editing the stuff and posting it, man. I swear I don't know how you do it.
I was up late last night, man. I went out fishing for a little bit, and then I had to get the episode uploaded for today, and there was some kind of issue through Skype or editing program or something, and I didn't get it figured out till 12:30, and I was like, finally, I'm like crawled to bed. He's like, I'm done.
See, I don't even edit ours. I just like I put the intro and the outro in it and say it's gonna sound however it's gonna sound. So
Dude,
yeah.
I love your intro, by the way. Is that like a legit, like, did that happen?
No, you know what that's from? It's definitely copyrighted, so don't tell anybody this, but it's off of A River Runs Through It, the movie. So
okay.
it's the part where Brad Pitt catches a trout on the river and like his dad and his brother are yelling. So I kind of like blend that into like a track, and it works.
Get
so.
that
Nice.
bitch. I love it. That's awesome. I'm a big fan, so
yeah, thanks man.
Thanks for coming on the show again. Yeah, are you on Instagram or anything?
Yep, Instagram is about the bronze is my username on Instagram. There's like I think underscores in between the words, but it's what we like to call smallmouth porn. So if you want to hop on my Instagram page, that's all it is. Just smallmouth, baby. So
there you go.
So yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming on again. And yeah, I'm sure you'll get another invite from Ryan because he likes to poach everybody.
Yeah, man. Anytime you guys want to have me on, this is freaking talking fishing, man. I'll do it anytime.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, guys.
Heck yeah, man.
Well, thanks
all
a
right,
lot.
man. You have a
Appreciate
good night. Listeners, we'll see you guys next Thursday. Don't miss what show comes on tomorrow. Yours, actually. Yours is tonight, Thursday. Releases podcast format Friday.
Yes, correct.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of what day it is. I'm thrown off. But yeah, the day this releases, I'm live that night. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Cool. Everybody have a good week. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Peace.